Hello and welcome to another Keymaster episode. I'm Sven Rajala, and today I've got a special guest from Chainloop.
Yeah, thank you, Sven. Thank you for having me. My name is Miguel. I'm the co-founder at Chainloop.
And we are going to talk about supply chain security and have a discussion with Miguel because this is an area that he specializes in and has a lot of information. So Miguel, where do you see this going today? Because from my views, it being like KubeCon this year in Europe so far, and so much talk about in toto attestations and having all this, these pieces and parts in your builds like this to have that and these policy agents going in. Where do you see this kind of going? I mean,
so I think that's basically the consequence of actually, if we step back a little bit, it's about software delivery is not only about the code that developers are writing.
Yeah.
It's also about other stakeholders that are coming into play, like compliance teams, security teams, that now are bringing new requirements on the table. They can be from vulnerability management. You might have a security team asking for that. You might have a compliance team asking to make sure that the licenses that you're using are a set of approved licenses. Yeah. So that's basically the new reality of how software delivery is going to be. And everything is based out of information, out of attestations that you might gather in different steps in the whole software delivery lifecycle. So that's what, at the end of the day, what attestations are for. Is this primitive, this information that you can gather in a standardized way in different steps of the software delivery lifecycle.
So obviously an SBOM's a topic we hear a lot about today. How does SBOM play into these attestations?
Right, so SBOM conceptually is again another piece of context information. In this specific case is the list of ingredients, a list of packages and licenses that your software might have. And it's just a canonical example that is being driven, especially some regulations are happening. And in fact, it's very useful to, down the line, answer questions around license, vulnerability management, and so on. So it's actually a canonical example of what's happening around gathering information in the software supply chain.
And then let's go, so attestations, that's kind of a new one for me.
It is.
What does that really even mean? And let's start with what does it mean, because then we can go into how do we use it, but what is that?
Right, so attestations is it's a term that now is being more popular out of the SALSA framework. And it's another JSON format.
More metadata?
It's metadata format, it's standardized metadata format that allows you to add information about anything. It's very common to say it around build processes, but you can have anything. You can have information about the test that your software went through.
Oh, like unit tests.
Correct.
Okay.
You can add any information, that even pull requests, who accepted
what. For the Git pull request, so you have your Git history kind of the request that went into it?
Correct. You can also store the Git commit. You can, at the end of the day, it's any piece of metadata in a standardized format. There is a framework that we use, at least at Chainloop, which is called in toto, that allows you to have that structure. And the idea is that. The idea is have a way that then you can sign, and that's where Keyfactor probably has, it's very important. It's a key component to have Keyfactor or cosign or SIG-Store project to make sure that data is tamper resistant. And
so cryptographically signed, so we know the signature hasn't been altered on that attestation.
Correct, because then you have, again, the SALSA framework has a set of levels, including how tamper resistant it is, and that's eventually important down the line, because what we're thinking about here, we need to understand is these pieces of evidence, this information, these attestations are going to be used by enterprises down the line to make critical decisions.
And so that's the next question. How do they make the critical decision? How does this information get consumed after you make it?
That's what we're trying to solve at Chainloop, right? We are trying to build this, we call it evidence store.
Okay.
It's a centralized location where you can send all this metadata. It will get signed in attestation. So it has all these properties, for integrity and being authentic.
Yeah, authentic, not tampered with.
Correct. But then what we make sure is we give you a mechanism where the data can be in the right place and the data can be analyzed the right way in an easy way. But this is something that some people, the industries are building themselves. So you can actually take cosign and many tools out there and put it together. You can use an OCI registry to store it. You can use OPA or Rego policies to run it. This is something that you can build, but at Chainloop, we're trying to give you
so
that.
It's really, there's no really standard, I guess, process or framework to use it. It's kind of still being worked out, but everybody knows we have to have it in the industry.
Correct. Yes, we know what are the components. At least, I mean, we have bet on some, like in Toto and signing with Sixor, or I mean, in your
other
case,
products,
whatever. And then storing it in content for storage. And we know that, and you can see it around, but there is not end to end. And again, that's what we're trying to. That's what products.
So we're almost end to end. It sounds like we've got from start to, I would say, 80%, and just figuring out from that percent of how to consume it, like it's almost there at that point, right? Like there's been a lot of progress there with those pieces, but I guess it's really how do you consume it in a way that works?
There has been a lot of progress, but now we have additional challenges too, right? Because you know, for example, generating an SBOM, and even if you put in attestation, you get value out of it, integrity value. But then, what do you do with it?
Yeah, what do I do with it?
So, and that's a problem that is actually orthogonal to attestations themselves. And this is something that, or distributing SBOMs, or so I think in general, metadata and information, how to distribute it, at least that last leg, is not solved yet. Let's put it that way. The good news are we have a lot of new standards coming up. I mean, especially, again, like CycloneDX, SPDX, both in the formats and also on the distribution part. And eventually we will convert to something that we can work together, right? And that's why, I mean, Chainloop, we build it on top of these pieces to make sure that, you know, you start from a common place. And we assume that tools will change and standards will change, but at least I want to make sure that you end up in the standardized way.
That's fantastic. So there we have it. And if you want to learn more about it, where should you go to find out more about secure software supply chain delivery?
I mean, I would say that you should come to see Chainloop, chainloop.dev. We have an open source project. It's in GitHub. And and we're happy. We also have a Slack channel where we are happy to discuss with, get any feedback. And
All right. Well, thanks, Miguel. And thanks for attending the episode. And we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.